Hey y'all, I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate and we're Real Estate Elevated. I'm bringing you another very short episode of I'm moving to North Carolina, now what? Today we're going to talk about something a little uncomfortable. What do you do as the buyer if the seller refuses to do anything? Meaning they're not going to fix anything, they're not going to offer repairs, so you feel kind of stuck. So here are 3 steps to evaluate the situation and then what to do if the ultimate decision needs to be made to walk away. So step number 1, review the contract. Do this both with your agent as well as with your closing attorney. They're going to look at it with different lens, reading the verbiage in a certain way. How can it be applied? It's really good to go through this information before you go under contract, but our contract is 17 pages. There's a lot of info in there. It's tough to memorize, but make sure you're paying attention to what it allows you to do and not do. North Carolina is actually an as-is purchase state, meaning it's a caveat emptor state. Buyer beware. It is what it is. You got to take it or leave it. So this is based off of the information you had at the time of contract. So here's where it can get a little gray. If the information shifts during the contract period, sometimes you do have a little bit of a leg to stand on to renegotiate. For example, we have something known as the due diligence period. So kind of backing up here, number 1, make sure you know what the contract says. And number 2, during due diligence, do you have evidence to argue your case? So let's say your inspector has gone under the house or has evaluated some systems that seemed like they were on the up and up, and all of a sudden some things look very different than maybe what the seller disclosed on the RPODs. Those are the residential property disclosures that are always attached in a contract and uploaded in MLS for you, the buyer, to review before you go under contract. So does the information match? Do you have new information that's come to light where now maybe the home looks a little different than it did originally? Sometimes sellers are willing to renegotiate because they would rather get the deal done and move it to the closing table. In some cases, especially in a competitive market, the seller's not going to feel as obligated to bend over backwards. They might be very willing to take it back to market, knowing that you're going to take it or leave it. So that leads us to number 3. Evaluate your ask. Are you asking for too much? Did you not provide the information needed in order for the seller to understand why what you're asking for is actually legitimate? Also, keep in mind, guys, this is a seller's market. I know you're going to hear all over the place that it's looking like it's shifting to a buyer's market. A buyer's market is where you had at least 6 months of inventory or more. That is not the case here in the Triangle, and it hasn't been that way for some time now. So buyers, be really careful that you don't tick your seller off by asking for the moon when that's not how things are done here. You want to make sure that what you're asking for is on par with consistencies in the market. Your agent should be able to guide you in some capacity on what the norms are. So it leads me to the final thing. If no agreement can be made, what do you do? Well, in North Carolina, the buyer is allowed to walk away at any time during the contract period. The one thing that is very different here, especially those of you who are coming from states that are very opposite, like California, please keep in mind that does not entitle you to all of your monies back, meaning due diligence or earnest, depending on what part of the contract period you're in. So make sure you're double checking with both your agent and your closing attorney on what your rights are, as well as your options for any money that can or cannot be returned to you. I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate. We are Real Estate Elevated, and we are bringing you lots of content each week. So make sure that you like, share, and follow us on YouTube as well as Spotify everywhere. We'll see you next time.